So some of the common questions that I often get asked around No Mow May is, won't it look messy? And I'll get complaints from the neighbours. Now, obviously, this is more relevant if you're talking about your front lawn. People are less likely to be looking into your back garden. But the idea here is that you want to make it look deliberate. So obviously we've got downloadable signs off the website that people can put in, print them out and put them on a little post, which is great because then it explains. And it is all about communication. So if you can have those discussions with your neighbours and explain, this is what I'm doing and this is why, then you'll get a little bit more of understanding. The other thing is mowing the edges, making it look like this is nicely framed. It's like another bit of your planting scheme. So yeah, making it look deliberate and communication is the key. A lot of people are like, well, I've only got a tiny garden. What's the point? What does it matter? But it's trying to get people to think about this on not just their own individual, but if you were looking down from a bird's eye view of a whole neighbourhood and you could see a few gardens just had little patches here and there where they had some wildflowers growing in their lawn, wouldn't that make a big difference overall, especially when you consider that so many front gardens and back gardens are getting completely concreted over or fake lawn put in, that sort of thing. So if you've even got a tiny, tiny little plot, if you can just give a little bit over to nature, actually it does make a difference. And more people doing it, the better. Now, again, this one is a real question that comes up every time. What we're suggesting is that May is that starting point, and actually it would be great if they could do it through June and July as well. If people really only want to have a flowering lawn and they just want to do it for a month, then obviously they are going to remove those pollinators. But the grass won't have grown up enough to providing sort of structure and homes for insects to be sort of living in all amount, around it. So again, that's not so much of a problem. But the end of that time period, if you have done it through summer and you're kind of looking at mid-July, what about all of those insects? Obviously, first of all, really important, go in with a broom or something and just give everything a good sort of bash and a shake about so that wildlife can get a chance to move away and not be in the area when you're cutting. But the other really important thing to remember is about this schedule that we were talking about. So this is our sort of haymaking calendar, if you will. So we've got that sort of May to mid-July point where we've got the long grass, and then we're coming in and cutting, baling it up, and we've got the animals moving in after that. If we then look at roughly what a lot of our insects are doing at the same time period, you'll see that most species that are associated with hay meadows are active and doing all of their busy life cycle stages where they're adults or young are crawling around feeding on the things at that point where the grass and the flowers are long and there. At the point where it's being cut, most of these creatures are crawling off as caterpillars to go and find somewhere else to go and pupate. So butterflies form chrysalises, moths form pupa underground, and the butterflies, they'll go find hedges or fences to go and set up. They won't do it in the actual grassy bit themselves, and the moths dig down into the soil, so they won't be affected by the cut. Other critters are more mobile, can just move out of the way as the cutting comes, and they go and seek refuge in the kind of uncut bits along the edges of the hedges, and that sort of thing. And they've got other places to go. And then over that winter period, they're obviously sort of dormant or they're in their sort of pupation stage. So it very much replicates that same life cycle. So it's really important to keep people to bear that in mind. The other thing to remember is if you're an insect and you're there making the most of this bounty of wildflowers in the local neighbourhood, and then come July, you're a butterfly on the wing and you're still around, and come July, the meadow's been cut for hay. Everyone who's doing No Mow May starts to cut their lawns down just like we need them to. It's not like that's then the only option to you. You've got those pastures that are managed not through hay cutting, but our animals are grazing all year round, which means the flowers are still there because they're low intensity grazing. So they've got that. You've got your hillsides, your calcareous grasslands, your acid grasslands, which don't get managed as hay cuts either. And they'll be flowering all year round. So they're an option. You've also got people's planted plants in their herbaceous borders. A lot of these plants provide nectar for our native species. And you've got, arable field margins that have got flowers in, and road verges as well. So there's a whole other option for those insects to go to if they're still sort of flying on the wing, for them to go and find some nectar. So it's not an all or nothing situation. Hopefully that makes a bit of sense when it comes to the insect debate. But what about, I don't have a garden, but I really want to take part. Right. Well, I mean, if you don't have a lawn, but you still have a patch, a balcony, or a courtyard, then go for it in a pot style thing. I've done this before. I've grown mini meadows in pots, individual species in pots, and yes, it's you might have to do it again the next year because they don't always last as well. But you will get things coming down and visiting that, so you can create whatever you want through planting in pots and trugs and things like that. Or you could get involved in managing a community space. See if you've got other neighbours that would be willing to sort of come together and sort of say to the council, we'd love to, have see this patch of grass outside our house managed differently and not mown every single week throughout the summer. So essentially, end of July is that best, mid to end of July is that best time to cut your grass if you want to keep the floral interest. Or you could alternate year to year, say that one year do it mid to end of July, and in the next year maybe leave it till sort of end of August so that you can benefit some insects as well. All have different patches that are cut at different times. Ideally, you want to come in there with a strimmer first and rake away because that will make life a lot easier. And then you come in with the mower. If you don't have a strimmer, then you have to go with the mower on its highest setting, but you only ever cover half the width at a time. And so you're only asking it to do half of the amount each time. And then you bring the settings down as you go back over so you get it nice and short. And obviously, you're always collecting those cuttings with the mower. And then basically you just keep mowing as often as you can before the next growing season, and that's how you keep it controlled.